Welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show, and welcome to another installment of the New York Sports Show. I'm Eric Casson, and I'm with none other than Pudgyboyz Sports from Instagram. Mike, we got a little Mets and Yankees talk because guess what? It's time for your medicine because the Dodgers are coming into town. You just played that AAA team, the Colorado Rockies, and it looks like Juan Soto got back on track. So how are we feeling about Juan Soto?
I'm feeling good in the moment. What better of a way to get your team going, get guys like Soto going and everybody off the schneid than playing what I'm witnessing is to be the worst team in the history of this sport. Everybody got hits. So going into this Dodgers series, this is exactly what they needed.
When you bring a bad team into town, it's the correct remedy because the Mets, I wouldn't say they were slipping, but the Mets were dropping a little bit. The Phillies were in first. The Phillies went on a little bit of a tear there. They won 4 games in a row. And then all of a sudden I turn around and the Mets are in second place. Also the AL East for the Yankees. My Yanks has been a laughing stock pretty much, and it switched souls with the AL Central this year, apparently, because now the AL East is the AL Central. But the Mets have been playing well. Their pitching has been outstanding so far. But the only problem has been Soto, if you want to call that a problem, with a guy with a 980 OPS.
Yeah, it's all, put a positive spin on it because that's all I really want to do. With the Mets being 15 over 500, now back in first after the Phillies didn't show up against Milwaukee, for them to be 15 over 500 and Juan Soto statistically having the worst start to his career up until June, I mean, God only knows if Juan Soto starts performing, where this team could possibly go. The pitching obviously will not continue all season. I don't think so. Blackburn's coming back tonight. I don't have high hopes for him, but Juan Soto needed to wake up. He admitted he needed to wake up, which I love seeing in the postgame a couple days ago. And now, hopefully, this is the start post-June to a Juan Soto type season.
Well, I don't want to turn this into the Juan Soto fest because I'm just like, at this point, it's of nauseam, but you have to touch on it. If you're talking about New York sports, Juan Soto is the guy now, and he's never been the guy on a team before. He always had Manny Machado on the Padres. He had Bryce Harper, but now he's the stir that straws the drink. So maybe that was a little bit of a shock to him. Maybe the weather didn't actually come. I mean, it's still cold outside, for Christ's sake, and it's June. And it hasn't been nice out, and it really hasn't been fun to go to the stadium yet. So maybe it's just early. Maybe it's just, it is only 50 games in. So let's give him some time because if you know anything about his career, this is the worst start that he's had to his career. But then guys like the New York Yankees, like Tino Martinez, and even Aaron Judge until this year have always led off to slow starts. And even Aaron Judge last year, we were wondering if he was the same Aaron Judge after getting the big contract. And guess what? Baseball is a game of averages. It is the ultimate equalizer, and everything falls back to where it's supposed to be eventually. But the Yankees just had the Dodgers in town. Let me cut that out. And the Dodgers and Yankees played in LA over the weekend, and the Yankees got their medicine. It seemed like the ghosts were back in Dodger Stadium. It looks like a recap of Game 5 of the World Series. And by the way, I don't know if Aaron Judge silenced the critics, but he definitely shut a few people up with his performance over the last 3 days. I see nothing but hate for Aaron Judge in the comments section on Instagram. My question to a Met fan is, how can you hate this guy?
I've said it in my video in the past. Aaron Judge in my lifetime is the greatest outfielder I've ever seen. And I'm 35 years old. There is not a pitch that he can't hit. And this is a guy with a strike zone that is 7 feet tall, and this guy, he has the biggest strike zone you might have ever seen, and this guy just gets it done. He's the most consistent player in sports. My only problem with him, again, I'm not pushing it forward, but he's a couple of big hits away from this team possibly having a couple of championships under his belt. So if he brings a little of this into October, and it's tough to hit 400, he could hit 400. But if he could do something like this in his postseason career, this team could easily, in a weak AL, get to the World Series again, easily.
You know what? That's the thing, though. You saw 2 brands of the teams this weekend with the Yankees and the Dodgers. The Yankees are doing a youth movement. They're doing the Baby Bombers 2.0, and they're doing a rebuild on the fly. And they're 6 games above, who is it now? Toronto Blue Jays. for first place in the AL East. So they've done an outstanding job. But this was a good litmus test for the Yankees this weekend because things were going well. They couldn't do anything wrong. Jason Dominguez, Ben Rice, Trent Grisham all of a sudden turned into Ken Griffey Jr. out of nowhere. So everything was roses. So it was good to see the Yankees being brought back to reality. But now we got the Dodgers coming into Citi Field this weekend, and I actually might have to get over to that terrible parking lot and go see a little baseball because I will. That would be the hottest ticket in town. How do you feel about the Mets lining up against the Dodgers, and is it a revenge tour for the Mets, just like the Yankees?
No, we got them. We're going to be in LA for the 4 games.
Oh, you're going to be in LA, okay?
Yeah. So as much as I would love to say, the only revenge that honestly I would like to see is in the postseason. I can't stand the Dodgers anymore. Everything that they do just irritates me, and it's not their fault because their owners they're doing everything right. They're building a dynasty right in front of our eyes. They're getting any player they want. But this 4-game set, the Mets took 2 of 3 from them at Citi last weekend. And they could have easily won all 3 games if they could just get a hit with runners in damn scoring position, which has killed them all season. But if you go into LA, and honestly, if you split 2-2 with them, I would walk away from that and be very happy because we got the Rockies coming up again in Colorado right after the Dodgers.
The strength of schedules with the 2 New York teams, the Yankees have had a terrible, strong schedule in the beginning of the season, and a little criticism on the Mets side was that they had a weak schedule. And hey, listen, man, you can only play the teams on your schedule. It's not their fault. But then, after going through that buzzsaw, the Yankees have been on the West Coast for the last 16 days. And by the way, if I look like it, I'm sleep deprived because I watch every game, and I feel like Alf after this weekend. But now you have Cleveland and Boston coming up. Right after spending 15 days on the West Coast, after getting your brains beat in all season long with no pitching. We've had absolutely no pitching, and we've had young guys coming up all over the place. So when you have a team like LA, the Yankees were really disappointed in the way they performed this weekend. Guess what? The Yankees left LA, and the Dodgers are staying in LA. They both have the same record, and they're both in first place.
At the end of the day, that's all that matters. And just to go back on a point, like how disappointing and I'm not trying to jinx this, believe me.
No, ask me anything you want. You have carte blanche.
How disappointing has the American League East been? The Orioles were an easy prediction because they did absolutely nothing in the offseason. It was a constant critique of them all season. But the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, this division's been so bad in terms of competition.
The Orioles they're going to look like geniuses because I don't know if you saw last night, Corbin Burns got taken off the mound last night, and when the trainer comes out, he goes, "My elbow is cooked. Trash," he said. So it looks like he's going to be going down for Tommy John. So some of the best moves is the ones that you don't make. But the Orioles are the Orioles, man. I'm a Jet fan. At the end of the day, the Jets are going to jet, and the O's are going to O. So what the problem in the AL East is that they switch souls with the AL Central. The Toronto Blue Jays, all they do is they're the thirsty dude at the whorehouse. All they're doing is trying to throw money around to thirsty guys, and no one wants to sleep with them. No one wants to go play in Toronto. I'm even surprised Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signed back with him. The Boston Red Sox, I thought were going to actually surprise people and win this division this year. So I don't know if they're going to turn it around, but yeah, it's kind of taking the wind out of my sails a little bit because I thought I was going to get a really competitive AL East where the Red Sox rivalry would be back, and then you have an O's team. But I mean, this O's team, what are you doing, man? Like, you finally get a decent team and you finally draft the right guys after 20 years of getting your dick knocked in, and now you're just going to not go for it? And also, they got new owners with deep pockets, apparently.
That's all I heard.
They should have grabbed Blake Snell. Is Blake Snell hurt again, though, too?
He is hurt, yeah.
That guy just gets hurt all the time.
There's a guy in the Yankee rotation they could have snagged. He's the best pitcher in baseball right now.
Who was that? Max Fried?
Max Fried, they could have snagged him.
You know what? Max Fried was a great acquisition by the Yankees. Thank God they signed him and not Juan Soto, because where the Yankees would have been, no one would have been. If the Yankees didn't get Max Fried, no one would be over 500 in the AL East.
Yeah, it was a huge signing for them.
So what's been your biggest frustration with the Mets so far through the first 50 games?
It's a glaring one. It's the hitting with the runners in scoring position. As a team, not only Soto, but Lindor. Alonso was doing great for the first 25, 30 games, but he's really tailed off lately, starting to get hot a little bit again. But Vientos has had such a comeback, down year in his sophomore year. Beatty's actually the one guy that's starting to produce, given like his 4th or 5th chance. But The biggest problem, it's just glaring, and they need to get it corrected. It's hitting with runners in scoring position. They're in the bottom 4, along with teams like the Rockies and the other bad teams in baseball. When you're in the same 5 to 7 team category as a team like the Rockies on any offensive stat, you're having a really bad time in that specific category.
So you just mean everything's right in the world. The Mets are good at pitching and not hitting again. It's
Yeah,
just...
and you look at all the experts in the beginning of the year. What did they say? Oh, the Mets are going to have a great lineup, but the pitching looks questionable.
Well, I don't know, man. Like, I never thought Vientos was going to replicate what he did last year, and I think you're quite naive to think that. And it's like, it seems like your general manager got his shit together because he's turning Canning into a Cy Young, and he took our closer and made him into fucking Nolan Ryan. So whatever he's drinking, it's the right stuff. But then it made me scratch my head to keep Vientos. And, it's not because he's a fan favorite, because you had the oh my God guy. He flew the coop, and you wanted to keep him. Pete Alonso's been on a mission.
Yeah.
That crazy cornball. Do people just dislike him in the locker room?
I don't think so. I know a couple of years ago there's reports about being some rifts between some players, and Alonso was like not a good guy to get along with. But
yeah,
everything you hear from the outside looking in, he just seems like such a great teammate. He seems like he has a genuine love,
right?
a genuine love.
It does. And then every time you turn around, he sounds like he's Farva from Super Troopers on your team. Take it easy, Farva. Farva, like Alonso's in the cafeteria going, what the fuck is liter cola? What's a liter cola? Now, Pete, I thought that played into Alonso a little bit. Is like, you're not cool, man. Like Alonso doesn't come off as laid back and cool. He comes off as kind of like a gym all-star who's who's a little corny. So maybe Juan Soto doesn't like that too much, but no complaints from Alonso, dude. He is on a prove-it contract, and he is going to stick it right up the Mets' ass when he has to renegotiate, because he's going to, and he's going to get his actually, you know what? They might let him walk.
Depending on, I put it this way, he keeps this up, he's definitely not opting into that $24 million.
They're going to have to pay him $35 million a year.
Like Cohen said, and I agree with everything he said. I want Alonso to make the decision, the hardest decision of the offseason. That's best case scenario for Pete and for the Mets. With a guy like Stearns, a small market GM with a big market owner, without pushing it forward to the offseason, if Alonso walks and someone wants to pay him 30, 35, maybe even more than 35, I don't see it.
Yeah, he's a Blue Jay.
Then go disappear on the Blue Jays with Anthony Santander and all those.
$40 million. And let him be any cornball that he wants to be.
Yeah, it's at that point, it's fine.
Well, Pete Alonso, the way that he's playing, man, and I have to admit, I've always kind of liked Pete Alonso, because how can he not like 50 home runs? And the guy, now he's hitting for average. And now he said also in an interview that he got addicted to the postseason. Once he was in that postseason, he wants to get back, and he's like, it got in my blood, and he's like, all I want to do is get back. And then the Mets have Manaea coming back. So you have who I wanted the Yankees. I wanted the Yankees to be all over Manaea last year. And also, in full disclosure, I thought he was Omar Manaea's son for about half the season, until my Met fan friend had to tell me that, no, he's just named Manaea. There's other people named Manaea, Eric. So, yeah. So that's what I got. So you guys got a Dodgers series coming up. We got the Cleveland, I was just about to call them the Indians, the Guardians, and the Boston Red Sox, which is going to be a little lackluster. I have to admit, it kind of takes the wind out of my sails, knowing that the Yankees are going to win the AL East on June 2nd. But this is going to give us time to develop, and it actually takes a lot of pressure off the young guys, where they can actually be comfortable in their own skin, and they don't have the division breathing down their neck, And I mean, from an outside perspective, what do you think about this Yankee team? It's like Cashman made a deal with the devil with the way that these guys are panning out.
As a Mets fan, honestly, I've come to grips with the fact in my lifetime, the Yankees could not make one offseason move, and they're still going to win 90 games every year. But it's just, I don't know, Cashman just does it every time. He props up prospects and then goes to get Devin Williams, the best closer in baseball last year or 2 years ago. Cashman's amazing. But in terms of losing Soto, there was no bigger offseason probably since, and he did it again when they lost Jeter and replaced him with Didi, and he went on to have an outstanding year. And everybody you didn't forget about Jeter, you didn't forget about him, but you didn't mind seeing Didi crack those homers against the Twins in the postseason that year. But he finds a way.
When I had Keith on earlier today, we were just talking about that specific thing and how the Yankees didn't used to be sentimental to teams. They told Derek Jeter to go pound salt. Like, they were like, go see what the open market says. Go see what you're more valuable in the Yankees. We know that. Go see what other teams think about you. He let Robinson Cano walk. Hold on. Hold on. I got to tell you something. Don't tell anybody. I didn't want the Yankees to re-sign Aaron Judge.
I don't think you were the only one.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a.
I don't know. He was big, 6'7", second half of his career, done, like really done signing guys that are 30 years old on contracts that just clog everything up, like Giancarlo Stanton. Also, this is what you're a Met fan, so this would be perfect for you. I made up a new rule for Major League Baseball, and I would like to implement it. It's called the Bartolo Colon rule. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Good, because I just made it up. Bartolo Colon. Remember Bartolo Colon? In the first half of the season, he'd make the All-Star game. He'd go 11-1 with a 2.3 ERA, right? What would happen? He would finish the goddamn season at 11-12. He'd run out of gas in August. So the Bartolo Colon rule to me is let Giancarlo Stanton come back in August. Let him come back in the first week of September. Let him get his reps in. Let him get 100 bats in. That's usually what a spring training is. And then show up for the playoffs, baby. So Bartolo Colon, I was screaming from the hilltops that the Mets should have let him eat empanadas at home until he showed up in August. And then just bring him up from AAA.
Yeah, it's like a softball team bringing in ringers towards the end of the year when the playoffs start.
It's like
but, I mean, that rule's stupid anyway, because if the Yankees want to bring Stanton in like mid-September, let him be eligible, because if it's only a detriment to the Yankees at that point, nobody else if he underperforms. So what's the problem?
And also, he is going to stop development of youth. He's going to clog up the DH. He's going to clog up so people who are human Jurassic fossils like DJ LeMahieu, stopping the development of our young guys. And then also, Trent Grisham is another one that threw a stick into the kinks, because we're supposed to be developing our guys, and now Jason Dominguez is getting reps taken away from him, and he looks like Rookie of the Year because Trent Grisham's doing so well, and you can't not play him, but he's a fourth outfielder at best. I'm waiting for that other shoe dropped on Trent Grisham.
It's a good problem to have, but like Ben Rice can't be benched. You can't bench Grisham. You can't bench Dominguez, and you're never going to bench Judge. So getting Stanton here.
That's the problem of the Yankees. I said this before. They should have turned Ben Rice into Mike Stanley of the 95 Yankees. First base and catcher. Jimmy Leyritz his ass. Because in Double-A, Ben Rice came up as a catcher. And then now he's learning first base. So you can run at both, and plus, bro, the guy went to Dartmouth. He's smart enough to figure it all out if he needs to, okay? So what are we doing? If you're a betting man, you taking money on the Mets this weekend? Because I don't know about you. Historically, it seems like the Mets play the Dodgers well.
They do. They do. I didn't see if Betts is playing yet. Not like it matters.
I think he's still going to be out.
So, but, Blackburn scares me coming back into the pitching rotation now because the rotation's been outstanding so far. Just how come you didn't mention you were excited about Frankie Montas coming back? That's another guy that no one seems to care about.
Oh, did I miss that? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Frankie Montas. I remember that asshole. Yeah, I
think we'll be okay. I would assume a split, and I would be okay with that, especially with the next series coming up after.
But Frankie Montas is a great move by the Mets. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to play it like it's not, man. If that guy stays healthy, he actually reminds me a lot of the guy that we picked up from the Cincinnati Reds, Cruz, who's been pitching lights out, now has a shoulder infringement. Since all I remember is that the Mets, who shouldn't have defeated the Dodgers in 2015, did in LA. And ever since then, I think, last postseason, I don't think anyone was beating the Dodgers. But the Mets have a really, really good chance of beating the Dodgers in a statement series this weekend. And Soto's another guy that plays well out in LA.
Hopefully. And the best thing about both of our teams at this point is they're not finished products yet, right? Everything's kind of works itself out. Injuries happen. The trade deadline, both teams, I'm sure, will be extremely active at the deadline. And, just to improve, I think we're heading in the right direction with both of these teams.
Both teams are going to make the playoffs because I don't know what the hell happens to actually, let's talk about the NL East real quick. What the hell is going on with the Atlanta Braves?
Underperformance after underperformance with every single player on that team. And you thought Acuna coming back would light a fire under their ass. And first pitch he sees, he homers, and they wind up losing that game. So it's kind of been the microcosm of this entire season for them.
'Cause-
Every single player is underperforming, and including the pitching staff.
Because they're one. No, it's all good. They're one of those teams that you can lock them in to make the playoffs or 88 wins for the last 34 years. Man. They're almost the Yankees of the NL. And they're consistent, man. I mean, how many years with Chipper Jones did they win? 24 years in a row? Did they win the NL East? I think something crazy in 19 years. But when you have this team, like you said, there is so much reason to be excited for New York sports because you got a Knicks team that no matter what happens, we still have a team that's back. We're back, baby. You know, this ain't no Eddie Curry Knicks. We're back, all right? So we can rely on that. Jets and Giants. Giants just had one of the best drafts that I said that they have had in a very long time. We'll get to our football also. My friend Mike here is also a Giant fan. I'm a diehard Jet fan, so it works out perfect. We got switched at birth apparently. Actually, yeah, maybe your parents should be my parents, but we'll get to that as well. And you can reach us both on Instagram, guys. Thank you very much for joining us, and take care. All right, cool. Yeah, so we can do just a general Knicks song. It's perfect.